Napoleon Bonaparte. The rise and fall of an emperor born on August 15th, 1769, on the Mediterranean island of Corsica, Napoleon Bonaparte rose from modest beginnings to become one of the most powerful figures in history. His genius in military strategy, combined with his ambition, led him to dominate Europe, forever changing the course of world history. However, his meteoric rise was matched by an equally dramatic fall, making his life a tale of triumph, ambition, and ultimate downfall. Early life and military beginnings. Napoleon was born into a relatively minor noble family, and at the age of 9, he was sent to mainland France for military education. His sharp mind and determination quickly set him apart, and by the time of the French Revolution in 1789, Napoleon was a young officer in the French army. The revolution presented an opportunity for Napoleon to showcase his talents. In 1793, he first gained recognition for his role in recapturing the French port of Toulon from British forces. This success earned him a promotion to brigadier general at the age of 24. His rapid ascent continued, and by 1796, he was appointed commander of the French Army of Italy. The Italian campaign and the rise of a legend, Napoleon's campaign in Italy, 1796 to 1797, cemented his reputation as a brilliant military strategist. With a smaller and poorly supplied army, he led a series of stunning victories against larger Austrian forces, forcing Austria to make peace with France. His leadership was characterized by his ability to inspire his troops, his innovative tactics, and his fearlessness on the battlefield. These victories brought Napoleon immense popularity back home, and he was hailed as a hero of the revolution. In 1798, he led a military expedition to Egypt, hoping to disrupt British trade routes to India. Although his campaign in Egypt was not as successful, it boosted his fame as a global leader and showcased his skill in diplomacy and propaganda. Brumaire and the rise to power. By 1799, the French government, the Directory, was losing control of the country. Taking advantage of the chaos, Napoleon returned to France and orchestrated a coup d'état on November 9th, 1799, known as the Coup of 18 Brumaire. He dissolved the Directory and established a new government called the Consulate, with himself as first consul, effectively making him the ruler of France. In 1804, Napoleon took the ultimate step. He crowned himself Emperor of the French in a grand ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. His rise from an obscure Corsican to the Emperor of France was complete. Napoleon's empire and the Napoleonic Wars. As emperor, Napoleon embarked on a series of wars known as the Napoleonic Wars, aiming to expand French territory and influence across Europe. He restructured the military, introduced conscription, and developed new battlefield tactics that allowed him to achieve spectacular victories. One of his most significant triumphs came at the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805, where he decisively defeated the combined armies of Austria and Russia. This battle, often called his greatest victory, solidified his dominance in Europe. However, Napoleon wasn't just a military leader. He enacted sweeping reforms in French society, including the Napoleonic Code, a legal framework that influenced civil law systems across the world. He centralized the French government, reformed education, and created a more efficient tax system. The invasion of Russia and the beginning of the end. Despite his many successes, Napoleon's ambition would ultimately lead to his downfall. In 1812, he made the fateful decision to invade Russia. Believing a quick victory would force the Russians to submit to his control, Napoleon led an army of over 600,000 men into Russia. However, the campaign turned into a disaster. The Russian forces employed a scorched earth policy, destroying supplies and resources as they retreated, forcing Napoleon's army to march deeper into hostile territory. When the French finally reached Moscow, they found the city in flames and abandoned. As winter set in, Napoleon's troops, unprepared for the harsh conditions, began to starve and freeze. Only about 100,000 of his men survived the brutal retreat from Russia. The fall of Napoleon, the disastrous Russian campaign, weakened Napoleon's hold on Europe. His enemies, Britain, Russia, Austria, and Prussia, formed a coalition and began to push back French forces. In 1814, after a series of defeats, Napoleon was forced to abdicate and was exiled to the island of Elba off the coast of Italy. Remarkably, in 1815, Napoleon escaped from Elba and returned to France, regaining control of the country in what became known as the Hundred Days. However, his comeback was short-lived. At the Battle of Waterloo in June 1815, Napoleon was decisively defeated by British and Prussian forces, marking the end of his reign. After his final defeat, Napoleon was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic, where he spent the last 6 years of his life in relative isolation. He died on May 5, 1821, at the age of 51. Napoleon's legacy, Napoleon Bonaparte's legacy, is a complex one. On the one hand, he was a military genius who reshaped Europe through his conquests. His legal and administrative reforms modernized France and influenced legal systems around the world. On the other hand, his relentless pursuit of power led to immense suffering, widespread war, and the eventual collapse of his empire. Napoleon's life remains a story of extraordinary ambition, brilliance, and tragedy. From his rise as a young Corsican officer to his fall as the Emperor of France, his journey has left an indelible mark on history, making him one of the most compelling figures of all time.